Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today I wanted to ask this question, pose this thinking. Does your body follow your thinking? So, we'll talk about that in a second. Hope everybody's doing well. Long day, group coaching from 1 to 4 and 7 to almost 10. Ended a little bit early tonight. Ran out of questions for coaching. So, does your body follow your thinking? The first thing I'm going to do is just say, this is a very generalized statement. This is not an exact rule for every single case where you feel a symptom in your body. But as a generalized question, in general, does the way your body feel follow your thinking, your line of thought? I'd venture to say yeah, to a degree, right? If you have a lot of symptoms and you have a lot of doubt, well, your thinking's going to be full of doubt and what if, and I don't know, it might be this, it might be that, and I'm not really sure, I'm pretty scared, right? And so, if you're feeling pretty shitty physically, it's likely because you're thinking kind of shitty, right? Stinking thinking. So generally, if you're having a rough time of it, it might be a good idea to just say, well, what are my thoughts? You know, I talk a lot about stories, but what are my thoughts? What's the story I am telling myself about my symptoms, about my life, about my condition, about my stress, of impacting things, about my ability to change things? And if the story is kind of negative, fear-creating, scary, see if it correlates. If you're negative thinking, fear-based thinking, danger-creating thinking, if that's what's going on, it's probably not a surprise that physically you're feeling more symptomatic. And that's because the perception of danger is what creates symptoms. I haven't seen exceptions to that. You know, I coach an awful lot of people on a weekly basis, talk to dozens and dozens of people, you know, in person. Probably 60, 80 people show up in person, maybe more, each week. I talk to a lot of people, and without exception, you know, when they start telling me that they're having a flare-up and this and that, and we start discussing it, and I ask a couple of questions, inevitably, they've got a lot more doubt than they may have before, or they still are in doubt and they haven't made a decision yet. And there's a lot of fearful thoughts. There might be some research. There may be some self-diagnosis. There may be some self-judgmental, critical thoughts that I don't know if I can do this. So in general, notice your thinking. When you're in a flare-up, or even if symptoms are fairly constant, notice your thinking. And can you elevate your thinking beyond just neutral? Well, Dan, I'm not bothered by it, but it aggravates me. So I just try to ignore it and go about my day. Well, that's not the solution, folks. If it was, people would ignore their symptoms and get better all the time. We need the clarity that we're not broken in the first place. We need to understand the brain is creating these symptoms as false alarms to a perceived, not actual danger. And being neutral about things is better than freaking out, right? But it may not be enough to move the needle and start bringing symptoms down or having them go away. Safety is the antidote to perceived danger, not neutral flatline. Safety, confidence, belief. I'm not there yet, but I'll get there. I can do this. Just watch me. That sounds a lot better than, I don't know, I'm just hoping it goes away over time. That's different. And so, super important to start to convey safety proactively and not just kind of neutrally get through the day and hope things get better. because hope's not a really effective strategy, because I can almost guarantee to a person that everybody hopes they get better. But if that's all it took, then everybody get better, because everybody hopes to get better. So evaluate your thinking. And if you're feeling really bad physically, you're in a flare-up, or you're just dealing with a level set amount of pain, but it's not changing, observe your thinking. Observe your thinking, because in many cases, not 100%, in many cases, our body follows our thinking, because it's our thinking that creates the danger and the fear. Now, I know, I can almost hear it coming. Somebody's going to go, well, Dan, I wasn't thinking about anything, and all of a sudden I had symptoms. I wasn't thinking dangerous things. I wasn't thinking anything that should have caused my symptoms to jump. Okay, got it. Sometimes the subconscious perceives danger without our conscious thinking and awareness. But then what happens? Once you notice the symptoms and you start to question, well, what happened? How did these symptoms increase out of nowhere, right? Out of the blue, seemingly out of nowhere, for no apparent reason. I understand, sometimes that happens. But then what does your thinking do? Uh-oh, what's up with that? How do I stop that from happening? What did I do wrong? I must be missing something in this recovery, because I wasn't even doing anything, and all of a sudden my symptoms got worse. And now they're getting really bad, because now many of us will respond to an increase in symptoms with more fear, more doubt, more rumination, more focus on it, more attention, more fear, and it gets higher and higher and higher. Then they go, but I wasn't thinking anything. And I'll point out, maybe not at the start. Subconscious may have perceived some danger. Could have been anything, right? But once it starts to increase, oftentimes that's where our stinking thinking jumps into the mix and keeps the symptoms going up, as opposed to symptoms start going up. I know what that is. I'm not going to buy into it. I'm not going to fuel the fear, because I know what it is and I know what to do about it, because I was doing better before. So why should I get upset about this? I'm going to show up as unbothered as I can. And if that's hard, or easier said than done, then be a little less bothered today than you were yesterday. Move in that direction of clarity, certainty, confidence. I know what this is, and I'm committed to this. I've made the decision that this is my path forward. And I've made the decision to focus on safety. Not neutral, not trying to ignore it, but on safety. Safety looks a lot like, hey brain, we're going to be good today, right? Let's work together, because I know I'm fine. I know I'm good. Let's see how much fun we can have today. Let me see, what friend can I call? What funny show can I watch? What can I do to engage my brain in something else that's a heck of a lot more interesting than staring at my symptoms and trying to figure out how to get rid of them? Now, that may seem really interesting. And to a person who's frightened and really wants to get rid of the symptoms, that is the most fascinating subject out there. But in hindsight, you're going to look back and go, wow, I can't believe how much time I spent thinking about and fearing and trying to fix and work on all this stuff. There's nothing to fix. So notice if your symptoms and your body is following your thinking. Because inevitably, if the symptoms are going up, what was I just thinking? Again, sometimes it'll start going up without a conscious thought. But then what do you start thinking afterwards when you start going, oh shit, what's going on? Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. And then the thinking kicks in, and the fear and the catastrophic thinking and the worry, and what did I do wrong, and this is my fault, I must have done something, and right? So does your body follow your thinking? If it is, guess what? We can choose our thoughts. We can change our thinking. Yeah, some of these thoughts are automatic and they're negative and they're on repeat. day after day after day, hour after hour after hour. But we can change our thinking, and inevitably, done consistently with safety as your main focus, your body will follow suit. So, going to wrap it up here. Hope everybody's well. Love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.